What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, and we're back with our second Top 10 Comics of the Week video with Rockin Robbie Billups. What's going on, Robbie?
Oh, Jim, I'm super excited to be here yet again to talk about our favorite comic books of the week. And right now, I do want to mention that we have an exclusive PCP cover for Blood, Skulls, and Chrome #1 from Second Sight Publishing. It's a great Ghost Rider #1 homage from 1973 by Jonathan Lau. We're selling them in sets for $24 with $6 shipping. If you're interested, they can just email us at popculturephilosophers@gmail.com.
That cover is dope, Robbie. Congratulations on the exclusive. And before we get started, you guys got to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a video. And let's jump into the top 10. And guys, since me and Robbie both do a spoiler-free new comic book day reviews every Wednesday and Robbie Tuesday night, we're going to go full spoilers with this one. So if you haven't read these issues yet and you don't want to get spoiled, make sure to come back after you read them. If you don't care about spoilers, let's go. We'll start with mine, which is Chip Zdarsky's Stillwater issue 7. Now, in my review, I didn't really give it glowing praise. I kind of felt like it was very Walking Dead-ish. It didn't have a lot of the lore, a lot of the immortal town kind of thing and what are the rules, but more of the drama between the people, which is okay. I mean, Walking Dead was a great series. I didn't really have that many books to come up with a top 10, so really, it just made the list. I'm more excited for what Stillwater has to come in the future.
Oh man, Stillwater was also my number 10. I'm actually loving this book. Probably even more than I did like Walking Dead. Walking Dead was cool and it does have those similarities, but I feel like in just 7 issues, a lot has happened and a lot has changed. This book has gone in directions that I did not anticipate. We've gone from this tale about this town where no one dies and no one ages to having them being infiltrated by this like militia group. I'm loving the tension and I like the artwork a lot. I had a lot of fun with this one. My number 9 for this week is Catwoman number 31. This one's written by Ram V, and Ram V is just one of the best writers in the industry right now. He's taking Catwoman, and all we ever really want from Catwoman is great artwork, a really solid story, and just a nice, mad, fun caper, a heist-type book. That's what this one is. She's going after Poison Ivy because she's been captured by this villainous organization, and Catwoman's now like the queen of Alleytown. She's got all these little kids like working for her. She's teaching them how to steal, how to be thieves, and it's just a great fun book with really cool artwork, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is the best Catwoman run since Ed Brubaker.
I've given this run a few tries, and I've always dropped it, and I know you love Ram V, he's an awesome writer. I just always felt like the Catwoman title didn't really have big enough stakes for me, and I just didn't really want little heist issues and things of that nature, so I'm not reading Catwoman, but hey, happy that you like it. My number 9 is actually going to be The Flash, issue 770. And what's funny is I didn't even like this arc. The first 2 issues, I was like, what is this new creative team doing? Joshua Williamson was doing a bang-up job for so many issues. But I really like this one. In one issue, they really had me connected to the Jay Garrick character and his partner in crime. It's the Ray, I think it is. I really dug their relationship and them being paired together and not getting along at first and to being tortured together and kind of encouraging each other to survive. I love the artwork. It reminded me of just like straight superhero artwork. Everyone's kind of muscle bound. They travel to the past. They punch Hitler in the face, very a la Captain America 1. So I was really digging the Flash issue.
You know, The Flash is one that I wasn't really liking as much post, DC Infinite Frontier or whatever, but this issue was super solid. I thought the first one was okay, but last issue I didn't really dig. I almost didn't even want to pick this one up, but I love that they throw back to the Jay Garrick World War II era. The artwork was absolutely fantastic. I think in the last issue with the Bart Allen futuristic stuff, I just didn't like the La Fuente artwork, but in this one, it felt classic, it felt solid. It was a solid issue.
I'm right there with you. I almost didn't pick it up because of how much I didn't like the previous issue, but I'm glad that I did. Moving on to my number 8 pick, we're going to go with Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil issue 30. I love this issue. Cicchetto's artwork I'm really digging, and I love what they're doing with Elektra. She's got this little crime fighter in training kind of character with her, and she's super badass, trying to refrain herself from killing people because she's trying to do things the Daredevil way. And then you have Daredevil. He's still in jail. He's really hell-sent on living out or serving his 2-year prison sentence, even though he had an opportunity to get time served by kind of helping the FBI take down somebody in jail. I thought that was kind of lame. I think any normal criminal or somebody doing time would have taken that deal, especially with his powers, and to help the FBI. Well, he said he's going to help him anyway, but I thought he should have took the time served. Definitely digging Daredevil. I did say in my review, though, I'm ready for something big to happen here. I feel like, King in Black came in, it kind of shook up what Zdarsky had going on with the run, and now we're kind of just a little stale with this whole prison stint thing.
When it comes to Daredevil, for me, art is key. And what I'm loving about the book is when Marco Cicchetto is on the artwork. I'm right there with you. I love everything about Elektra, her little Robin in this one. She's basically taken on a Ward, a kid partner sidekick. That stuff is great. The Matt Murdock stuff starting to wear thin on me because, first of all, yes, why is he not going to take the 2 years off or whatever? Why is he still wearing... It's so silly to me that he's wearing his mask in jail. Like, it's just the weirdest thing to me, and it's starting to kind of sour the book for me. However, every time I would turn the page and it was on Elektra, and it was on that Cicchetto artwork, it just blew me away. But the other stuff, like the artwork, is just a bit inconsistent, and you're right, something big needs to happen. We need to move this along. For my number 8, I've got Fantastic Four Life Story number 1. This is a reimagining of the Fantastic Four story, taking everything into account and having it occur in real time. So the Fantastic Four start in 1961, and throughout the series, they're going to age, just like the Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man life story. I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. It's always been my favorite superhero franchise, and I adored this issue. They really lean into the this man, this monster stuff and spread that out. I like the characterization on Reed and on Sue, on Johnny, and even on Ben. I thought the artwork was solid. It wasn't anything super special, but the book had a nice feel, and it felt like Fantastic Four.
I love this issue. It's way up higher on my list, so I'll talk about it when we get to it.
For number 7, I've got Radiant Black number 4. I loved this issue. This one's been kind of up and down for me over the last 3 issues. I really like Kyle Higgins. I love what he did with the Power Rangers book. I love some of the other work that he's done. And the artwork by Marcelo Costa is amazing in this. This artwork is great. The colors, they pop. It feels like a great, vibrant, fresh, energetic animated film, right? But in the last issue, it's really just about this dude's writer's block. It's like that felt so boring, and at time, it felt a bit cool and experimental, but a bit of a weird stretch. But in this one, it's all action with a little bit of hero melodrama, and then, like you alluded to in your new comic book day review, a twist that I didn't see coming, a twist that blew me away and completely changed the direction of this series.
This is another one that's way up on my list, so I'm going to save my thoughts for when we get to it, and I'm going to jump in with my number 7, which is Way of X number 1, and I'm really, really happy that I'm digging an X-Men title right now. There's been so many lackluster titles for me, that X-Corp, X-Factor. I've dropped a ton of Dawn of X titles, even New Mutants, that I just wasn't having fun with, but Way of X, I'm digging the Nightcrawler stuff. They brought back Legion, and man, like we said in the beginning, there's going to be spoilers here. This issue, or this series, starts off with issue 1 with Nightcrawler conflicted about the resurrection protocols. Flash forward to issue 2, he literally blows his brains out. His brain, Legion's brain, is just in a little glass tube or whatever, and he has to kill Legion so that they can resurrect him and he can have his body again. So that was super sick. And then everyone's trying to figure out, who is this Patchwork Man? Who is haunting the dreams or creating nightmares with the mutants on Krakoa, and we find out who it is. Has ties to Legion, has ties to Age of Apocalypse. It's another failed child of Professor X, Onslaught. So I love where they're leading up with this. I've seen some covers, has me super excited for what's to come in Way of X.
Way of X didn't make my list, but I did like this issue. The first issue didn't quite sell me, but I do love the character of Nightcrawler, so I wanted to give the second issue a chance. It started out kind of okay, but it kept getting better as each page unfolded. All that craziness, the way it ended where Nightcrawler has to blow Legion away, like you said, with the Onslaught reveal. Yo, I loved and still do the entire Onslaught saga, so I'm game for this.
All right, guys, jumping into my number 6, I gotta give it to Wonder Girl. Like I said in my new comic book day reviews, the stuff that I loved from Future State was everything with the Bat Family and the Magistrate and Gotham, and then Wonder Girl, Yara Flor, just a super refreshing character. I've never been the biggest Wonder Woman fan or have read a lot of her stuff, and this feels fresh to me because it's new to her. She's not even Wonder Woman in this issue. The artwork is incredible. It's just a pleasure to read, and I think she's a very charismatic character that you want to learn more about. You want to see what the future holds for this new Wonder Girl.
You know what? Wonder Girl #1 is also my number 6. This book was really good. One of my favorite things about DC Future State was the Yara Flor Wonder Woman, a great, fully realized character, completely different than Diana, but so connected to that Amazonian mythology, that legend of Wonder Woman, right? It feels connected, yet different, yet unique. And I really like the heroism of the character. She jumps out of the gate. I like how they're going back. This is set in current continuity. So she's young. She hasn't discovered her powers or her magical godlike heritage or whatever, I'm assuming. And she like is in a bus flirting with this dude. And then she sees this wreck out there and she just hops right on out and goes in to save the day. And that's what a hero does. It had a great vibe of like an early Ultimate Spider-Man type issue, and the artwork by Joel Jones and Jordi Belair was absolutely fire. Striking, great composition, great figures. Yara Flor is worth it.
Yeah, I like how all the other Amazonians from like different areas, it's like these different tribes all kind of like smell something in the air. They feel it in the air like Phil Collins. And what I'm assuming it is Yara Flor's entrance, her coming out, if you will.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
You know, my number 5 is Stray Dogs #4 from Image Comics. This is written by Tony Fleecs. It is like All Dogs Go to Heaven meets Seven. So it's like a Disney film, but like a psychological thriller. This book is freaking awesome. It's about this dude. He's a serial killer, and he kills women, and they have pets. They have dogs, and he takes their dogs. So all the dogs trust the master because, of course, he feeds them. He takes care of them, or so they think, right? In this issue, it gets super twisted, and the artwork is done just like an animated movie, just like a Don Bluth type production, right? But the story gets crazy. They find the spot where he's been skinning the dogs, collecting their heads. So not only is he a serial killer of humans, but of dogs. This book has great homage covers, and it's just so much fun. If you look at it, you're like, this looks like My Little Pony, but it doesn't read like it.
That's why I'm not reading this. I flipped through the first issue and I was like, I don't have time for this animated series Disney cartoon type of thing. But in the comments of my new comic book day reviews, that's the most common comment that I see. How come you're not reading Stray Dogs? Now for my number 5, we have Nightwing 80. I've been loving this book. Tom Taylor, I'm loving his stuff more and more. The artwork, I'm sure Robbie will tell me who the artist is because I forget, but I love the art style here. He's got like these pastel colors to it. The art style is very environmental, experimenting with different perspectives to just keep things interesting. But on top of that, with Tom Taylor's writing, you have great dialogue with Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson. He's trying to help out the homeless. He's like Brewster's Millions over here, except he's got Alfred's Billions, and he wants to save the homeless. Now, he tried to save a homeless person in the prior issue, and they got killed and literally had their heart ripped out. We don't know where his son is, and that's kind of where this issue is taking us. Being that Dick Grayson tried to book this homeless person a room, and his name is on the hotel registry, the cops obviously interrogate him, and I just love that interaction of him and Barbara. Like, we're both lawyers, and we both know that Dick didn't do this, and it was just such a casual, fun conversation, and we get a glimpse of who this heartless man is at the end of the issue. Who is out here ripping out these homeless people's hearts?
The artist on Nightwing is Bruno Redondo. Fantastic stuff. This is a bit higher on my list, so I'm going to save that for later.
All right, so my number 4 is Justice League issue 61 by Brian Michael Bendis, and I'm loving this issue so far. I'm not too big up on the character Naomi, but I pieced it together with this run. They end up on her homeworld. They were attacked by somebody from there who's trying to scout planets to inhabit, since their planet is pretty much doomed. Now, they picked the wrong planet in my opinion, but their champion seems to think that he can hang with the Justice League. Although it seems like half of the League's powers are enhanced on this planet. You have Black Canary, who her supersonic scream is even more amplified. Hawkgirl feels like she's tipsy. She's so elated and feels so powerful. But half of the Justice League seems to have their powers dampened from what I'm gathering. Superman seems to be having a hard time not blasting everything with his eyes. Black Adam comes in with a super dope appearance, but at the end, you see that he's been kind of defeated along with Superman.
You know, I actually thought this was a pretty strong issue of Justice League as far as the Bendis story went. But in the last couple issues, I felt like it was a bit thin, a bit too decompressed. And Bendis has this habit of building up a villain and telling us he's badass, but not showing us that he is. In this one, he doesn't quite show us, but when he just beats the hell out of Black Adam and Superman, and we just show up and you're like, what? That was pretty cool and impressive. Now, what's striking to me is that you don't really like the Rom V Justice League Dark story, which I love. That's 10 pages in the back. I'm loving that story. They're introducing this idea of Merlin of the DC Universe, and it's a different take on it. You got the demon. I love the art by Zermanico, and that's my favorite part of the book, but it's always cool to see what Bendis, a completely different writer than Ron V, what he does in 20 pages versus what Ron V does in 10 is pretty exceptional just to see the different styles at play. Now, my number 4 is going to be the Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters. This is another one of those one-shots that doesn't really tie into the main Immortal Hulk story, which is wrapping up, but every single one of these has been pretty solid because they bring in really great talent. For this one, you got Juan Ferreira's artwork. This is one of the most undersung artists at Marvel right now. He keeps getting books like Killmonger and Spider-Man Noir and Punisher Kill Crew, books that were good but a little scrubby for an artist of his caliber. Now we get to see him shine on a different prehistoric version of the Hulk. I absolutely loved it. It's written by Alex Pagnadell. He's one of my favorite writers. He wrote Friendo. He's writing Giga right now. He's a friend of PCP Show. He's a fantastic dude, and this was a fantastic issue.
And this was actually my number 3, so we could just move right on over to that. And you know what's funny? I'm not typically a fan of one-shots or annuals that don't tie in with the main story, but I gotta say, if I think back to every Immortal Hulk one-shot, I think I've enjoyed them all. This issue did another great job, just like how the Flash 770 did, which you were invested into characters in just one issue. I like this tribe. I want to see why this guy sacrificed his son to the Green Eye. When the Green Eye sucked his body into it horrifically, like we tend to see in Immortal Hulk, and coming back as this big green hulking monster, we get an appearance of the Green Door, and it kind of is just tying everything to like the beginning of time. This has always been around. There's always been Hulk monsters. There's always been Green Doors. This guy, this leader of this tribe, sacrifices his adopted son just to eat him. And what was funny is that the creature, as soon as he had sentience, he's like, hey man, I can kill so many bison, I can feed this tribe for years to come. And the first thing they try to do, and what they accomplish, is killing him and eating him. We do get him resurrected at the end, and it was just such a roller coaster of a book for me. I really dug it.
Man, I love the way that when he does start resurrecting and they have eaten him already, he literally just starts coming out of their stomachs. They're like throwing him up. He's ripping out of their flesh. Like, it was so gnarly and horrific. I loved it so freaking much. Now, my number 3 is where my Nightwing number 80 pick lies right there. Bruno Redondo's artwork, fantastic. Adriano Lucas on those colors, like you said, they are striking, they pop. And the composition, the way he lays out a page, he does something interesting with every single page. It's got a sense of style, of flair to it. And he was the same artist who did the Suicide Squad run with writer Tom Taylor. So this is just a natural progression of their evolution together as a creative team. I am loving it. This is the start of a very classic run. You went over the book already, but I do want to highlight this. Tim Drake's in this book. He's my favorite Robin. They even mention that a lot of people think Tim Drake is their favorite Robin, and he, for me, he's the first Robin to wear pants. That alone takes the cake for me. But this was a great issue, and it feels like the start of a very classic run. It feels very much like the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye, and not in a rip-off way, but just in this is going to be one of those low-key B-list heroes that's going to be a run that lasts forever. It's going to be an evergreen run.
I totally forgot Tim Drake was in this issue, and I really like how they used him. They put him undercover to go with the homeless kids, and even when he shows up, he just has a different vibe about him. Like, the way Tom Taylor writes him, he's so different from Dick, and it was just really refreshing to see that as well. Moving on to my number 2, this was lower on Robbie's list, but I'm giving it to Fantastic Four Life Story Issue 1. If you've never read any Fantastic Four, you can pick this up and you're going to be pretty caught up. Now, if it plays out the same way that Spider-Man Life Story did, they're probably going to go off the rails in the 4th or 5th issue, but basically it's wrapping up the 60s era of Fantastic Four, and you get a lot accomplished. You get the origin of the Fantastic Four. You get that whole this man, this monster thing arc, and he's super pissed, more so than you get in the original FF comics. You even get this other character that becomes the Thing, while the Thing reverts back to Ben Grimm. It was super interesting. This kind of tease of Galactus that's pretty frightening, more frightening so than I think they really did back in the 60s. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the 70s era in issue 2.
I did really like the Galactus bit. You're right. It does make it a lot more foreboding, a lot more creepy. Speaking of creepy, my number 2 is Red Room. Number 1, it's from Fantagraphics. It's from writer-artist Ed Piskor. Oh my goodness, this book will not be for everybody. but it was definitely for me. Ed Piscor's got this very gnarly, independent type style. He's the cat that did X-Men Grand Design, so Hip Hop Family Tree. You know what you're getting in for. It's black and white. It's 64 pages at $6.99, but it's got a lot of story. What's it about? Well, it's about people who make snuff films. You know, they murder people live. They do live streams of it. So what if what we do when we live stream here on YouTube, but we're like murdering people? It's on the dark web. This book gets into who are the victims, who are the killers, who watches this crap. This was a really crazy book. If you love like torture porny type comic books and movies, if you like the Hostels and the Saws, if you just can't get enough of that stuff, check this out. And if you just like something different, something unique, something twisted, and something with a lot of bang for your buck, Red Room is one of the most out there books you're ever going to read this year, probably.
I didn't read Red Room. It sounds like I'm missing a hell of a book.
You are. It's wild, though, so if you do try it out, be careful, make sure you wash your hands and all that stuff. My number one is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, issue number 2 from Boom Studios. This one's written by Ram V. We've already discussed how much I'm a fan of his work. This is a great story about the god of death. What if one day she gets fired from her job? The reason why she gets fired is because there's this kid, and he's been born, and he will eventually, according to a prophecy, bring about immortality for humanity, right? So she gets kicked to the curb, sent into a mortal body, and cast away to Earth. Now she's spending her time trying to find this kid so she can kill him so she can get her job back, right? And that was all the setup in the first issue. In the second issue, they tell a very nuanced story about death, about how we carry it with us, how death is a public and a private affair. There's this kid, and his caretaker, like someone who was like a caretaker for the house while he was growing up, kind of like a lower class citizen. He's now moved on. And then later on in his life, he finds out that this dude dies. So he wants to go, he runs away from home, and he starts mourning, and he goes to the funeral, right? And meanwhile, Layla Starr, she finds this kid, and she has this nice touching moment with him. Turns out that's the damn kid she's trying to kill. It's a really great book. It's very powerful. It's got a great style of artwork by Felipe Andrade. Really great, not really going to fit most people's idea of what comic book art is, but it's so appropriate to the story. It adds this whimsical flair to the book. It's really deep. It's a little bit fun. It's not taking itself too seriously, but it is talking about serious things.
That was another one that I didn't pick up. I'm going to have to start hitting you up when I get my pull list together and see, Robbie, what should I be reading? Moving on to my number one, we talked about it earlier in the list. For me, it was Radiant Black, which I was totally surprised by. I read this book. It was the first book I read digitally. I tweeted right away. I tagged Kyle Higgins. He replied, so I felt super fanboyish. And I did like the writing day issue in issue 3. I really liked issues 1 and 3. Issue 2 I felt was a little bit slow, but issue 1 was a great origin story of this character who's moving back home. He's a failed writer. He's got to move back in with his parents. He's got his childhood friend there, and I like the dynamic between him and his friend in this issue. He's kind of like, hey, let's go out and train. You got to learn these powers. Then he comes clean that, listen, something's been talking to me. This big, gigantic robot is the person who gave me these powers. Am I supposed to be fighting this other Radiant Black, Radiant Red character? He does get warned by this big robot that the Radiant's going to come to get him. And then, boom, he gets killed. And then his friend takes over the mantle of these Radiant Black powers. And I was super blown away. Like, you spent 3 issues developing this character, a whole 3rd issue really just focused on him and his writer's block, and he gets killed. And the friend picks up the mantle. If he continues with the friend as this new hero throughout this book, I think that's awesome. I just think that's so mind-blowing and just so unexpected. That combined with the bright, flashy artwork and the great line work in this series, it was number 1 for me.
Bruh, they pulled a psycho on us. They got us introduced to a main character and then just got that dude right off the page. It blew me away. And I loved how he wouldn't make the commitment to kill to get the job done. But when his friend gets the powers, he does. This book's going to be insane, and I hope that the level of violence starts just continuing to go up. The action was fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm right there with you. Let's keep the level of violence going up, and I love, like you said, how the friend is about that life, whereas, and I forget the names on these characters. It takes me a lot of issues, but he wasn't willing to kill to get the job done, but the friend is. I appreciate you guys watching and checking out our top 10 comics of the week. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get made aware when videos drop, and hit the like if you're enjoying the content. Robbie, where can they find you and what do you got going on?
They can check us out here on YouTube at Pop Culture Philosophers. That's right, we do comic book reviews, we do movie reviews, and we have a banging fun time every Sunday night on Rockin Robbie Live. Check us out, 7 p.m. Central Time.
And don't go anywhere. Check out last week's top 10 and the new comic book day reviews if you haven't yet. Stay minty fresh. Peace.